We're into game 2 of the best of 3 within, looking at the brackets, within game 9 of round 2 of the Bad Bot Buddies Ecstasy Esports tournament on the 6th of February 2016. I am WPMarshall and I'm joined by TheWrongCat.
The WRongCat. You've been watching too much Rick and Morty, haven't you, Marshall? Oh, please tell me you've seen Rick and Morty.
I have not.
Well, you have to fix that.
I shall.
And you'll see why that is so amusing to me.
But the players are about to spawn in, and that is what's important right now. Let's see who has spawned in which location. So in Team Pink, we have Lujfed. Is it Lujfed or Eljafed? Lujfed
and Muckfed.
Muckfed. In Team Pink, spawning with double bots first on the wider continent with a couple of tentacles.
Now,
meanwhile,
interestingly enough, the first of this set of 3, which we didn't cast, was in fact won by Lujfed and Muckfed. So Zankar and Killer Kiwi are playing now to stay in the game.
Now I told you that Zankar and Killer Kiwi may be a little off their game. I don't know how much they've had the chance to practice, but if you haven't had your head in the game for a while, that can really throw you off against players who have been playing recently, like Muckfed and Lujfed have been playing in Clopsies and things like that. So they are certainly up to speed with current proceedings in PA.
Interestingly enough, the purple team seems to be favouring a heavy air start here. And again, we saw limited use of air the last time we were seeing the system. And again, a similar sort of focus early on by the pink team, which I'm surprised at, to be honest with you. I don't see that air on this particular map has any particular advantage over the teleporter approach, which we saw before. I mean, particularly the bold teleporter approach on the choke point can be very risky, but having one on the opposite end of the island still gives you that launching point. And we do indeed see a teleporter going up from the pink team there.
Pink team, yeah. We do see the combat fabs, 2 of them in fact, so we might see multiple teleporters going up on the purple island. You will have to wait and see. We already see drifters coming out from the purple team though. I suspect the airplay is going to be powerful because if they don't go for the combat fab teleporter drop, they'll go for the FAB factory drop.
I was saying about the air focus. I've actually looked again at the queue for purple, and that
it's
is
very heavy vehicles, isn't it?
An air focus. That is, I'm going to stick infernos every orifice you present me with.
Infernope, as they say.
Oh God Almighty, Marshall, you are killing it today, and by it I mean my sense of humour.
I'm sorry.
Like with a dead horse on a stick. That's how bad it is. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards, let's have a look at what strategies. It was a lot of pings going off there. What is this for? These are pinging the resource patches at the bottom of their island, indicating perhaps let's not let those pink guys get hold of that.
Oh, Bumblebee's coming in, taking down a couple of fabricators there. Only one goes down, unfortunately. The Galata was complete, and the Hummingbirds were there to defend. It just shows how being on the ball early game against really aggressive Bumblebees and Bomber Snipes can really pay off. We already see the combat fab now in the Pelican. It'll be on its way any second. There it goes. Where is he heading off to? There are so many movement points here on the lower peninsula here that it's really difficult to see quite just where. I think it's this one. No, it's this one. Yeah, it's this one.
There he is. Okay, that's a combat fabricator though.
Yes, that's
which is of course for the teleporter.
Indeed. Not as aggressive as we saw in the previous game.
Has it been scouted? Oh, that plane nearly scouted it.
Oh, that was so very close. Just missed. If we go there from the view of the purple team, we don't actually see it. Another Hummingbird comes in. Is it?
They're on a patrol. They're on an area patrol, and that area just does not include that. That's a sneaky teleporter. We're looking at a sneaky teleporter here, boys and girls.
I mean, if we look at how those areas overlap, that is so unfortunate. Oh, the docks. They're through already.
And an interesting insight into the minds at work here. If we look on the other island, we can see that the pink team have taken to patrolling everything to make sure that no sneaky teleporters get dropped. And that is having patrolling docks like that is a great way to deal with pelican drops.
That's a really interesting strategy. I like it. I like it a lot. Problem is, though, we finally have that commander coming through that teleporter now, and as a result, Purple need to answer this now. They have a couple of fabricators there for the vehicles. They will have to retreat, though. They might want to put up some the turrets or some pelters if they can, but they really need to get some supporting units over there, and most of the Purple army, actually, consists of drifters, which are currently on the pink continent.
Well, that's exactly what those are designed to do. But notwithstanding the technology that allows them to float over molten rock barely meters above it without disappearing into it, they are drifting very nicely across this inaccessible terrain to land exactly where their opponent is not expecting them to be, which is right in the middle of their base.
Ah, I catch your drift. Sorry,
I don't have words for you right now, Marshall. I just don't.
Anyway, the thing is, those can actually do some damage to those factories now. And there is a commander there to defend against it. Oh dear, run away, please. Oh dear, the Uber cannon's there. Meanwhile, let's have a look back at the other side, though. The docks are pushing in. The mine lines, mine lines, are there. But the defensive drifters are putting in some work. And the thing is, because they're drifters, they aren't dictated or constrained rather to the choke point. They can just cut the corner completely.
Which is good use. It's good use of the unique ability that the unit has. The thing is with Pink's base right now, apart from the fact that the teleporter is having some sort of fit right now,
yes.
they actually don't have what I would call any vulnerable points. Factories are fairly tanky. They've got quite a lot of hit points, and tier 1 units, except in mass, do struggle to take them out. So actually lots of their squishy bits, the economy buildings,
the squishy bits
of the base are actually fairly well hemmed in from the lava, so drifters coming across from that particular lava lake aren't able to do that much damage. And actually I'm now seeing my apologies, I've just looked at the wrong island. I was about to say that the purple team have a sizable presence on Purple's island, but that is not in fact the case.
This commander is looking a little bit open against drifters from a multitude of different directions. I think he's trying to push forwards, but he's going to meet some drifters.
Now here we see an interesting point. What is the one thing that cannot accompany drifters over the lava lake? Skitters, which means that they have got no way of scouting for mines placed along the shoreline, and that is actually a very good defense against exactly what we're seeing here, which is
do the drifters respect mines though, because they float?
I'd imagine these are some sort of fancy futuristic mines that explode if anything passes over them within about 2 feet. Just a guess.
Just a guess. Well, we'll have to see. Bumblebee's coming in now against drifters, because that's another thing that can't accompany drifters. Spinners. And as a result, hummingbirds are going to be necessary. There's a good number of them there from the purple team, but they're not where they need to be. And the bumblebees, they're getting such good shots off against the drifters.
The drifters are very vulnerable. Unprotected, unaccompanied drifters are very vulnerable to bombing runs.
They are sliding to their death. Meanwhile, you're just ignoring it now.
I just can't.
It's a slippery slope, isn't it?
A slippery slope that we're going to end up drifting down if we're not careful. This commander is currently taking some sustained fire from these drifters, but he's got enough of a force there to see them off. He's only taken a little bit of a scratch here or there, a flesh wound, and they're now making a hasty retreat back to the defensive line, where they've got fabricators building a pelter to try and assist them. But I don't think that those fabricators are going to have a very long shelf life.
Quite possibly not. But there are the T2 fabricators now in their base. The T2 vehicles are up for purple. Do we see T2 from pink? We do not. We saw an attempted one, but it was not completed.
Of note here, the economy differences. Again, the purple team have a sizable economy advantage at this moment in time, and that comes, I think, from having this T2 as well.
Something also to note, though, Purple team are in the spawn that the Northern Walk players, the Never Win team, were in previously. So clearly adapting to your location is still something that players are able to do. And as a result, they can, push things through. But this commander again exposed, taking yet more hits down to
more than he needs to, I'd
more
say.
than he needs, yes. Especially with the T2 risk now. Levelers beginning to come out.
Although,
They're being traded. Little
do they know that
know.
there's tier 2 risk?
Let's have a look what Pink can see. They have not scouted purple whatsoever. Well, they have a little bit. They can see 3 vehicle factories. They have no idea as to their air production. That's always a good thing to know, so that you can build 1 extra air factory, so that you know that on the balance of things you're going to have more air than your opponent. They don't know that the T2 exists. They don't know where the really vulnerable power field is. I mean, a couple of drifters over there, or a couple of locusts, will destroy that. But here's the big number of vehicles, though. Not vehicles, units.
I'm quite
vehicles.
disappointed with the scouting, actually, so far. Knowing what your opponent has got is absolutely critical to your unit composition, and neither team has been paying much attention to that at all. It's just been a case of, okay, let's just build this and see what happens, which works if you have the advantage, which, again, at the moment, Purple have the economy advantage. They've probably got the ability to build more units and better, harder hitting units than Pink. But if they send up a load of, let's say, levelers against sniper bots, they're going to find very quickly that mistakes were made, and the sniper bots will trade very effectively against levelers.
That they will. The thing is, though, you can counter those with a bit of bombers and a bit of shellers.
Again, it's
a dynamic game.
It's a game of counters, and you need to know what you're countering, otherwise you can't build it.
Yes.
Poor micros and bombers over here, and they've been taken out by a single fighter plane just wandering around after they've apparently finished their job and decided to sit down for a nap.
Something of note, the economies are coming back into even portion now. Pink have finally sorted themselves out. They've asserted their presence on this sort of causeway, as you refer to it, and they're getting up that T2 bots. Commander's still on the front lines, though, down to 56%. I have a feeling these levelers are going to turn the tide of this commander being here. As soon as they see the levelers coming towards them, there's the hummingbird there. Levelers starting to get hits off on that commander, down to 40-30%. Down to 30. He's in a very bad position, and there's too many drifters.
Well.
There's nothing that commander can do. He is gone. All that's left now.
Going to buy that shot. That's going to be the end of him.
How many units is going to die? Ooh, a few ants there. They've started to mix in some ants as well. But I still think the drifters are going to be good here, but there's a good number of units here. The levelers are going to be able to sort this lot out. There's enough docks there that the levelers are just going to be able to tear through them.
Oh, brutal.
Brutal. Let's have a look at what's going on the purple planet, island, continent. Not a lot of incursion from purple.
Now, actually, there's quite a lot of tier 2 mixed in here, I believe, from the purple side, which means that actually, although they have the smaller blob, unfortunately, there's no AA mixed in there whatsoever. Critical mistake there from the purple team. None of their land units have got any AA mixed in there. They need to put those into the mix, otherwise they are going to have some real problems with those bombers. They've sent in some fighters, but it's a little bit too little, too late, and now flying over the AA of the pink team.
Flying over the AA, but completely killing off the air force of Pink in the process. I think that's in fact, due trade, because
I say the AA, Pink haven't got any either.
Well, not anymore.
Neither of these teams.
It was all air to air. They do have a spinner. They have a single spinner.
A single solitary spinner. That's very good of them. They need more.
Yes,
desperately.
They do. Another force from purple coming in now, though. It has got more levelers, more ants, more drifters, and they will be able to take down these sparks as long as they kite, because they're not using that range. They're just sitting their units in the range. I think they have a rally point here, and they're just content to let their units sit there. But importantly, Pink now have a distinct lack of an air force.
Well, they've got enough to cause them at least some concern.
Yes.
And not having, they've not got any skitters mixed in either. which means that these mines are ripping through. They just don't have enough variety in their unit composition. Some boombots coming in now. I don't see any infernos to deal with those. All they're relying on are levelers and ants. You just cannot rely on those solely. They are both very strong units in their own right, but without support from specialist supporting units, they cannot do their job effectively.
Indeed. And I did just see there, I think that a drifter did go and get himself killed by a mine, so I believe they do respect mines there.
Oh, good. I'm pleased to know that my futuristic mine theory was, in fact, correct.
Yes. Your future... Well, is it really necessarily valid? It's one of many futuristic possible theories. But we digress. We see skitters coming into the purple team, so they'll be able to take down those mines at long last.
This is what we call a learning process, which should be done before the tournament.
Unfortunately, this one is not exponential.
Oh my word! And now, okay, so this choke point now, this it's being crawled over by a very slow-moving, slightly more diverse, but not really, purple army, making steady headway towards this offensive teleporter here. Once that goes down, the ability to send through large quantities of supporting units by the pink team goes away, and all of this expansion through here comes into jeopardy.
Should be noted, there's a lot of air from purple, but there are storms.
Boombots coming in now, but there are no infernos to deal with these.
Oh my God.
Unit diversity, folks. This is why it's important. Even 3 infernos in that mix would have completely mitigated all of those boombots and saved that army. You need to have the ability to deal with anything your opponent throws at you, including boombots. That was very, very good play by the pink team.
Very resourceful.
They deserve to make the headroom, which they're now going to start to make with the rest of their army. Hopefully that will be the spur the purple team need to mix up their unit composition a little bit. You cannot have single unit types all the way through.
Look at this army of skitters. I'm loving it.
Too far in the wrong direction, guys.
Yes. That bomber fleet, though, bomber squadron rather, not fleet, is doing good work at defending that choke point. Pink, they've been knocked back so far, and yet they are still digging their foot.
They're rebuilding. They lost the teleporter, but they're building another one. Those boombots were absolutely fantastic play. I'm really pleased that they are taking advantage of the open opportunity that purple leave. Purple, in fact, are now leaving this choke point, and they're saying, "Screw you guys, we're gonna go over here." And they must have a teleporter. In fact, here it is over here on the side. You just pinged it, haven't you?
I did. Commander going back through again, but he's lost the power, so we can't go through the teleporter.
Listen, this game is still anyone's to lose. The pink team have lost a commander, so they have got themselves a little bit more open to sniping than the purple team. At the moment, the purple team, this is really the first headway that the purples have made onto Pink's island, whereas before they've been sort of largely fighting a fairly defensive battle on their own island. With that said, they've still managed to maintain a sizable economy lead throughout.
We are starting to see a very large bumblebee bomber force coming out. They are flying over a lot of AA, taking a good number of losses there, but this air force is what I would call significant at this point. Still just flying over more AA.
I think they're trying to take out the AA first, and then they're going to start working their way through these expansions, which is, again, strong play, taking out the metal, denying Pink the opportunity to build more boombots. Rather than building infernos to deal with the boombots, what they want to do is just take away their economy now so that they can't build enough boombots to deal with the ant and leveler spam.
Thing is, the economy's 300 plus they were floating metal a minute ago, and they're trying to build up their T2, so I'm not entirely sure that taking off all of these T1 is going to make that big of a difference. Yes, it's going to be a thorn in the side if they can start to get a foothold on this continent and start to really push in and deal some damage to Pink, but until that time, I think their efforts can be better spent elsewhere. Like up here, for instance, but the problem is there's a storm defending that army. That storm needs to die before the bombers can come in and support.
Now, interestingly enough, although Purple are doing a very good job here of going in and destroying metal extractors, we should note that Purple are currently floating their... Pink, rather, are currently floating their economy.
Indeed.
Which is silly, and they've not added any infernos to their unit composition. Why have they not done that? There are boombots everywhere now on this continent. huge army of boombots. If there are no Infernos in this unit composition, they are just going to be fought back time and time again.
It really
It's frustrating.
it amazes me at times because there's so many opportunities, but of course we can see them, and the players may not necessarily be able to because they only are limited to their vision. So, for instance, right now, there's a couple of places where some drifters could really come in and do some damage. At the same time, there's a distinct lack of AA in places where bombers are just going to be able to wreck face, like here. Oh, here it comes.
That is disgusting.
Hummingbird's trying to come in, but here
Look at
comes
that
the
Air
lawnmower.
Force.
It's like a lawnmower. Just,
The thing is, Purple have had the opportunity before now to really mop up here, and they've just lost it. It's been entirely their own doing.
Yeah. I think they've been trying to take down the odd mechs, which is so easily rebuildable. That they've missed the opportunities.
Although they don't know this, Pink are not even using all of their metal that they've currently got
Yes.
anyway.
Now, here's the thing. Here is the thing.
The
This
thing.
force, the only thing defending the remaining commander is a bit of flak. If that force can take down that flak, that commander is 2-pass, multi-pass dead, with the number of bombers that are coming out of Purple right now.
The thing is, this should have been, from the stage that we are in this game, Purple should have had an easy time finishing this off, but they've lost it, they've left it.
Yeah.
And now they are still, although they have got what looks like a fairly strong foothold, they don't have that much base defense, really. And all it would take is one decisive strike. I mean, for example, if Pink were to build a teleporter here, what on earth would Purple do about it?
Well, they do have some advanced defences here and here, plus they have all those T2 factories. But the thing is, they would need a substantial force of, locusts, just a large force of locusts swarming through this base would do a fair bit of damage.
Sadly, Pink have now switched from boombots over to Sparks, which now...
Sparks are still good against
They are.
vehicles, but they're not so good against T2, and that's the crucial bit here, because T2 makes such a large component of the ground force of Purple right now, and Sparks, but boombots were just more efficient traders.
Yeah, I think mistakenly Pink
There's the
thought,
flag.
they'll catch our number now. They'll realise what we're up to and they'll change the tactics accordingly. Nope. And then we have the base.
The ping
raised.
commander, the commander's been pinged. There is a storm there. They don't want to go in yet. They also see the flak. Are they going to focus down the flak? Yes, they do focus down the flak. The pink commander is moving towards the army.
Oh my
They
word,
see the storm.
the flak.
They run away from the storm. They cannot approach that commander just yet. The storm is moving out, and the storm is going to go down any second now.
storm is
The
gone.
storm goes down. The bombers are going to come in now. There's the GG from LK and Muckfed, and down goes the.
There we go. Now, I believe that leaves us 1-1 on this little matchup. So we are going to have these two teams going into a third deciding round to see which of them will go through to face. Let's see who's going to go. In fact, this is the semi-final. No, it's not. Where are we?
No.
I've lost my place. We're here.
Yeah, we are in game 9. So
Yeah, we are in game 9.
We
We're
are
in fact holding up the semi-finals with this game, which we're now going to have to play through. So they're
We
now
are
going.
indeed.
So the winner of this next game that we play is going to go up against the team consisting of Klops and Elodea, who has been on vacation from PA for a few weeks. I understand. It would be interesting to see a unit cannon in this game, wouldn't it?
Would.
Considering how much of a fuss the community made about unit cannons before they were released, I've been disappointed at the lack of use. This is a very small map for a 2v2.
It
In
is.
fact,
It is
speaking of unit
designed for a 1
cannons-
versus 1, isn't it?
Speaking
already
of
been
unit
through this.
cannons,
Yeah, we see the out of order unit cannons sat
Now-
there wonderfully.
for those not familiar with the history of PA, hopefully Marshall will be able to use his fancy camera skills to give you a good look at these. In the original trailer for Planetary Annihilation, in the Kickstarter video, the unit cannon was... Do you mind? The unit cannon was featured prominently in the Kickstarter video. Are you okay there, Marshall? Oh dear, I've broken him.
It's just a, do you mind? Just anyway, continue with your unit cannon
Yes.
story. We're running out of time. Go.
Alright, we've run out of time. I'll tell you in a minute, folks. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome, everybody, to the third and deciding round in the best of 3 for this is match 9.
Quarterfinals.
The quarterfinals between
Semi-finals.
Team Ice and the Turbo Penguins to decide which of these teams will go through into the semi-finals.
Yes.
This is a tournament hosted by ExodusEsports.com. I am TheWrongCat.
Oh, okay.
You are.
And I am. And I am the Marshall. I wasn't sure whether you were going to name me or whether I was going to name you. But anyway, Team Pink, LJ Fed and MK Fed of Turbo Penguins on the North Spawn in purple, going double bots with some air and further bots to follow up. Bots is pretty standard on this map with an early transition to vehicles we usually see as well. Meanwhile, in the yellow team there, Zankar and Killer Kiwi in the Icegotehpoweroftehkappa. It is the quarterfinals. My mistaken Z. And of course, the final game in the best of 3, also going bots, air, but starting off with an early vehicles. I wonder whether that's because they're trying to exploit the more efficient vehicle fabricators.
I expect so, and also, of course, the map being as small as it is, the slow speed of the vehicles is not such a handicap, because there's less of a distance to travel to reach even the most extreme expansions. So actually taking advantage of the heavier armor, the harder hitting nature of vehicles can still yield advantages. Now, looking at the rear side of this map, you have this sort of pockmark field, relatively open, relatively exposed.
Semi-golf ball.
Golf ball, yes. That could work too. So we'll have team. This is the golf side of the map, and then there's the unit cannon side of the map.
Bunker field.
And you've got this rather exposed cluster of metal extractor points all the way on this one side of the planet. I tend to find teams less keen to go for those because of the very difficult nature of defending expansions on that side of the planet. On the other side, however, you have all these barriers, these natural choke points, which enable you to erect defenses to protect your metal extractors from early raiding forces like this one.
Indeed, it's not exactly a substantial raiding force, but it is there. Fortunately, Yellow have a few vehicles, and they should be able to defend against this. It's going to be close. I don't think so.
The wiggle was not quite sufficient. They have actually managed to take us off.
Watch the wiggles.
And there we go. The wiggle has completed, and they're going to try their hardest to kill off this metal extractor before they are eliminated.
Now, the yellow docks are going around the other side of the planet, where there is a hummingbird that has scouted them. So Pink is going to know. So if we actually look at the bases and the entrances they're in, you have one here, one here, one here, and a few round the back as well. So you've actually got a lot of places that you need to be careful of to prevent any sort of annoying intrusions, I suppose.
The danger with that, of course, is that the natural barriers that you have around you can enforce and in fact in some cases create a turtle mentality where you feel you have to defend the area within those crevasses and nowhere else, whereas in PA, as you well know, your main aim needs to be expansion. You've got to be hungry for metal. You have got to be constantly chasing down further expansion opportunities, and holding up inside of a natural choke point like that can lead you to play very defensively, which is often very disadvantageous.
Can be indeed. Pink's pinging off the expansion from Yellow there. Really nice expansion. In fact, they've actually managed to get that vehicle factory up there, which is going to hold that expansion really nicely indeed. A large air force now we see from Pink overall, and that's because they've got so many air factories. They've got what? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Have they queued up any more? No, they haven't, but still 4 air factories. Let's have a look at how many Yellow have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6. Woo! The air game is real from the yellow
I'm
team.
surprised to see such a strong air game on such a small map. Granted that there are choke points which air can completely ignore altogether, but largely with the map this small, the speed advantage from air is again negated. The smaller the map, the less of an advantage you have to using speedy, rapid units.
But don't forget, anti-air may not necessarily be so speedy. But the other thing is, the expansions within that sort of starting area are harder to defend from, say, air units. You can only really put up a couple of static defences, and if you have a substantial enough bomber force, then you can go in and really take out expanding fabricators and mechs and sort of crucial targets like the radar there. Just taking down these little bits, just setting them back little bits. And I mean, things like radar are not exactly things that you need to say, oh, damn, I lost my radar. It's one of those things you're like, oh, the radar's dead. You know, it's not something that comes naturally to people lower down the ladder to go, oh, we need to rebuild a radar. Although, having said that, you know, LJ Fed and MK Fed more than capable of rebuilding radar and knowing how important radar is, so I'm not going to labour that point too much. The air scouting, though, getting off a couple of fabicles as it does, nicely seeing how many air factories, and that's the thing, you don't necessarily need to scout for T2 or expansions or fabbers, but gauging your opponent's production ability and their possible ratios is also very important.
Certainly air has a very important part to play in the scouting game, again because of the fact that they're relatively cheap, expendable units for the most part. You just zip them in, you know that they're not going to make it out, but you come back with valuable information about what your opponent is up to. Complete lack of AA in this force here, which means that those bombers are able to... In fact, there's a single Galata turret here, not sure whether it's focusing down the bombers or not. It needs to be. They've decided, no, I'm not going to bother with you, I'm just going to go home instead. Tail between their legs. Not a lot of raiding going on so far, fairly even. I say that, the yellows are starting to pull ahead a little bit because they are expanding in a few more places than pink, although having some of their expansions being trampled on as we speak. But this seems to be the critical part of their plan.
Yes.
They've built all the way around here. Really, I don't think pink are expecting them to be there, and they've holed up, they've grabbed some more metal resource points, and that's enough to propel them into the lead as far as economy is concerned.
In fact, this area here is actually one that people tend to sort of neglect on this map, actually. So having that sort of an expansion in that area is kind of in their opponent's blind spot. And actually, I just looked through pink's vision, and they don't know anything about that apart from that initial factory that they saw a while back. They don't know that this is now a fully fledged sort of almost second base, as it were, now.
A proxy base. We're back to those days, Marshall.
A proxy base it is.
I remember that used to be all the rage way back in the alpha.
It was.
But at the moment, what that's actually effectively done is that has placed them on an offensive leg on two sides of, let's say about sort of 90 to 120 degrees worth of pink's base. They've got very easy, quick access with vehicles to both sides of their base, and they've actually got them fairly well surrounded. Map control being all important as it is, that is a very significant setback because they are able to project power from those production facilities very easily. And they're now pushing through. The defensive force here from pink probably panicking a little bit, thinking, that's a slightly larger force than I had reckoned on dealing with at this point. They've wisely mixed in some AA to keep the planes at bay. And they're now, I didn't mean to rhyme that, and they're now pushing forward to try and take out some more metal expansion. And actually, pink currently suffering on their metal production. So this is going to be very effective, denying them further production opportunities.
And pink have finally found these proxy bases. They see the fabbers that are rushing up the Galata. There's no bombers there to deal with them. Do we see T2? It's around this sort of point that we tend to see T2 transitions, but instead we just see more and more air factories being built. Look at how many air factories are in the pink base now. And what is this commander doing?
I think, to be honest with you, I think he's...
is he going for a little
giving up
amble?
the ghost?
He's going for a bit of an amble there through the back of his base, wondering I'm going to scare you away because I'm a commander and you're a subordinate unit.
That said, all they've got to do is turn around and start shooting at him. I expect he's going to run. He's going to need to run away.
If he gets close enough though, he can pop off a few Uber cannons. This is where you'd ideally want to split this army into maybe 2 or 3 little subgroups. There we go.
Like so?
Into almost as if they can hear me saying it, or I'm just intelligent. There you go.
Well, we got that far, Mark. You opened yourself up for that one.
I knew you would take the bait, and I was
That commander
judging
has,
your character.
In fact, seen that defense, seen off that army, but at great cost.
Great
He
cost.
is now very much exposed to snipe territory. Looking at the economies here.
I was just sorry. Yeah, sure, by all means. I was just seeing if there are any bombers that can go and finish off the comm snipe. But actually, the Air Force air game is in Pink's court. Now, on to you with your economic forecasting.
Economic forecast currently is pretty dire as far as Pink is concerned. It's raining metal in the yellow base, but a veritable drought of the same resource over in the Pink base. Because yellow just have so much map control, uncontested map control. Pink are playing defensive everywhere we look. There's always yellow forces moving in to attack pink forces, and pink forces reacting. And that's one thing that you don't want to be doing in PA, is being reactive. You want to be proactive. You want to be the one causing your opponent to think, I need to send units here, rather than you being on the front foot saying, I want to send units here. And that is the key difference right now, and yellow are taking that to full advantage. Pink are really just sort of watching their back at every step.
They are, and they're doing it really well. The thing we do see, though, is a bit of T2.
We're about to see a commander die, I think, if we're not careful.
Aha. Whoa. Possibly.
It might be a fairly close-knit thing. If it gets that, he gets the turret up in time, which he has done.
There's a few infernos. Oh, they're
going to
focus down the comm. They're focusing him down.
He is done. Has he managed to survive? He's hid behind the wreckage.
Wow, he's gone. That was close. And those two mechs are not long for this world either if yellow decide to push their advantages here. But the thing is, not only is that a comm lost, but that's also opened up their back door.
It has indeed. With that said, that earlier force did a very good job of doing that. The commander was in the middle of rebuilding after an earlier raid, and the yellow just came in there and said, no, sorry, this is a no building zone. They've restricted his permits and he has been eradicated. Now, where is the one remaining pink commander? He is currently holed up right in the middle of their base, fairly safe from snipes, but snipes are not really what pink needs to be worried about right now. What pink needs to be worried about is the fact that there are armies encroaching on their doorstep at every single side of their base.
Pink have such a massive air force right now. They could use it to such better effect. I mean, if you look at the amount of spinners or AA in these armies, there's not a huge amount.
But near the commander, however, which is where they're currently trying to send their bombers, there's plenty, and that's unfortunately just diminished a large proportion of their air force.
Indeed.
I'm not quite sure what Pink are doing here. Every time they come anywhere near anything with a little anti-aircraft symbol on it, they just turn away and run. Now this is good. They found a place which is completely undefended from AA, and they're taking out a big chunk of the yellow economy. I'm surprised we've not seen any T2 yet. In fact, we have. There are one T2 vehicle factory, and they are producing T2 economy to further boost themselves ahead of their opponents. T2 is also going up in the pink base, but I think that's more of a desperation measure. Again, they want their economy. And also, one further observation, Marshall, we have a teleporter being built right outside their base. I expect that's going to be used to move those Tier 2 vehicles from the yellow base directly into the kill zone.
Indeed, I suspect you are right, because on this side of the planet what we have been seeing is pink being aggressive and pushing in almost as far as the base. If I ping there, that's as far as pink have got. And yellow are going to say, okay, well, if you're going to try and push against me, I can defend against it. I've got the build power, I've got the economy. I'm going to go and take the fight to you. You can react for a bit. And the teleporter's up, but the force is responding to it. The teleporter is not linked. Oh, that is unfortunate.
But they haven't even built the entrance teleporter yet, Marshall.
Yes, that was
a mistake.
That was very poor timing. Typically, you want to make the entrance first rather than the exit, because then that gives your opponent less opportunity to scout the exit and cotton onto your plan.
They're actually building T2 right on their doorstep directly. They didn't even need that teleporter. That's a luxury item. At this point.
I have seen that a while ago. But getting out that T2 fabs, not only could those get up some economy, which they kind of need right now, but they can also start building things like Hulkins or extra factories there. And if we look in the army tab there, we can see 39 factories to yellow. That is almost double that of the pink right now. And at this point, Oh, most of Pink's is air rather than ground.
And not only is it air, it's actually anti-air. They're fighter planes.
Yes.
They've not got many bombers. They've hardly got any bombers. It's all fighters, which are no good. Commanders don't fly most of the time, unless they're pelicans. And I've not seen any pelicans about the
You can't
place.
pick a commander up in a Pelican anymore. You can only pick them up in an Astraeus.
Well, I've not seen any orbital launches then. So I don't know what they're hoping to achieve with all these fighter planes, other than certain death, which is coming their way at the moment with swift, pointy teeth.
Swift, pointy teeth, but they can try their best to put their chin to the grindstone.
I'm just struggling to see where they're going with this. They've finished the tier 2.
They
they
can
are
defend
working
for
on
as long
economy.
as they possibly can. What they really need right now is they need to take an opportunity and say, okay, we're going to go all in. I fear as though that's kind of what they have to do. With that factory discrepancy and that economy discrepancy, I think they kind of need an all in, because actually if you look at it, Yellow's armies are kind of all over the place, whereas if Pink consolidate their forces and make a good push, I think it could do some damage. It's going to be a bit of a stretch to see if it wins the game or not, because I think Yellow may see, okay, this is an all-in, we're just going to come around and snap your comm in the face, but
I don't think Pink even have an all-in available anymore.
no, I think their window has passed, I would agree.
At the moment, they've got 2 large forces, both of which with some T2 mixed in as well, pushing in from 2 sides, and there's just not enough of a defensive force from Pink to react to this. What I'd like to do is to get some Infernos in the front line, but there are enough levelers in there that the Infernos just can't get there. And this is just going to be sweeping through the base, so the commander is wisely walking away. Slowly. Ambling away from the disaster behind him as his base crumbles to the offensive forces. He's turned around and he said, actually no, sod you guys,
I'm
get
going to
out
out
of here.
fighting. Yes.
Yeah. So he's going to plonk an Uber
Gaze
cannon or two
upon
down
me
into there.
and shiver.
Look at that, that was a beautiful Uber cannon. Last hurrah as the commander pops, and we now see
The GG's.
the GGs.
Zankar and Killer Kiwi advance to the semi-finals against the team.
Turbo Penguins have been eliminated after a very, very strong performance throughout this tournament. They, in fact, don't forget, went into this best of 3 with the first victory, and then unfortunately for them, Killer Kiwi and Zankar were able to win the subsequent 2 games to pull it back and steal their way into the semi-finals. And I think, again, this could be quite a nasty little attack. If they do focus on those power generators, they could really cripple Northern Walk's economy.
And there's Locusts to follow them up as well. This could be the base killer here, because while all the units are answering wow, that sheller put in work though, and while the units are answering the T2 army, the Locusts are going to come in. We already see a couple just wandering around that power blockade there, just nom 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 nom. Factories going down, air coming in, getting the scouts
Wow.
off, seeing those commanders. The GG called by Wormia already. They've lost too much. Looking in the economy tab there, they're too far behind. GG from Kazipko. We'll see the self-destruct any minute now. A strong opening from Orange, but unfortunately they just weren't able to follow it up, and they didn't get the scout on that T2 in time.